Welcome to the Generation Kids Daily Devo podcast, where we move from wonder to worship, looking for God at work in the world around us, ready to ask the tough questions and discover what His Word has to say to us. Today's episode is titled Christianese Words, Faith, and it comes from me, Casey Taylor. Have you ever been listening to someone talk about God, the Bible, the church, or something to do with being a Christian, and they started using words that you never use in your own everyday life? Well, you're not alone. These words, which we'll look at this week, are what I like to call Christianese. Because to those who didn't grow up in the church, or who haven't learned a lot of what the Bible teaches yet, these words can feel like a foreign language. They don't always make it easy to understand the depths of what the Bible is trying to communicate to us. That's why this week, we're going to be taking a look at some of those Christianese words and try and define them, and hopefully help them make more sense as you grow in your relationship with Jesus and begin to learn how to not only understand these words, but to embrace the ideas that they're supposed to communicate about God, the church, and us. Today's word is faith. Okay, quick show of hands. How many of you have seen George Washington? I don't mean on the dollar bill or the quarter or even in your textbooks or in the musical Hamilton. Keep your hand up if you've ever been around him at the store, or at your church, or around town. Your mom's pumping gas, and bam, there he is, the first president of the United States. Anyone? No, obviously not, because he died in the year 1799. But because you had been told stories about him, and you have learned about how important he was in the forming of our country, you believe the stories about him are true. They're historical. But the stories you've heard about him are still just that, stories. You don't know anyone who knows him or knew him personally who could vouch for how true any of those stories that we've read about him actually are. We are convinced because we believe our history teachers, museums, and historians that the information that we've been given about him is true. There are enough different sources around him from when he was alive to tell stories about him that we have a basic understanding of who he was and what he did. But still, we have to take someone else's word for it. We weren't there. We trust in things that we can't prove or haven't seen with our own eyes. The Bible calls this faith.
Now faith is the assurance of things hoped for, the conviction of things not seen. Hebrews 11, verse 1.
This idea is the basis for so much of what the Bible promises us in Jesus. In order for Jesus to become the Lord of our lives, we have to put faith, our hope and conviction, which just means strongly held beliefs, into the reality that Jesus was the Son of God, that He died for our sins, and that He is coming back someday to rule and to reign, and that if we believe all of this and ask Him to be the Lord of our lives, that we will be there with Him reigning too. This is a big thing to believe, and a huge thing to put our faith into. When we have conviction about something, we feel and believe it, not just with our minds, but with our whole beings. We can't escape our belief or the lengths that we'll go to defend or uphold our beliefs, even in the face of opposition and competing ideas. When we have faith in Jesus, we are betting on Him. We are forsaking all other options for who God is. We are giving our hope, our trust, and our lives to Jesus, to be led by Him, to be invested in knowing Him, and in the conviction or strongly held belief that He is who He says He is, and that He'll do what He said He'll do, that we are willing to let go of our own desires for our lives to help fulfill His desires for the world. Jesus tells us in Matthew 16 that anyone who loses their lives for His sake, which means risking it all for the gospel, which is another word that we'll talk about later this week, they will truly gain their lives. That's faith. Belief and conviction put into action. And in a way where if what we hope in comes true, all our hope and conviction will be rewarded. And if they don't, we will be, as Paul states in 1 Corinthians 15, the people most to be pitied, because we wasted our lives on something that wasn't real. But Paul and I share a hope in Jesus that His words are true, that His promises of the kingdom coming is happening, and that by asking Jesus to take control of our lives, that He will do good works through our lives that we will be rewarded for in the kingdom to come. That is what faith is. belief and conviction in something that we can't currently see, like George Washington. Only Jesus came and is coming back. George, well, he's going to stay in that grave, unless his hope was also in Jesus, at which point, someday in the future, we'll be able to have those first-hand stories with the guy on the corner as we celebrate the hope that has been realized in Jesus, as he comes back and we get to be with him in his new kingdom here on earth. Now it's time for
Today's Big Question!
Today's big question is, what are some things in your everyday life that you know or believe only because you've heard someone else tell it to you? If it's easy to believe those people about those things, what makes belief in Jesus different for you? Do you have faith or trust beyond what your eyes can see in something? Talk about it, and then pray that God would give you more faith to believe in that which you can't see, and have a conviction for what He wants you to believe. Thanks for listening to the Generation Kids Daily Devo podcast. If you want to keep in touch with us on all our social media platforms, check out the links in the description. And if you'd like to help support us as we continue to create meaningful content for kids of all generations, please subscribe to our Patreon by visiting us at patreon.com/wearegenerationkids.